Sporlan, creating products that provide solutions so that your air conditioning and refrigeration needs are not only met, but exceeded. Offer the highest quality products, innovative solutions, and unparalleled support in the market.
So I found myself back at school this morning. Not in the way you might think. I'm not going back for myself to learn anything, HVAC school or anything along those lines. I had to take my son into school this morning. My son had a difficult time the last 9 weeks. And our school is a little bit different than a lot of the schools out there in the United States. We have a year-round school. Elementary school that goes from K to 8, and then you go to high school. It's a really fantastic school with the year-round template I really like. But my son was having a very difficult time in his class. His class is very loud. My son has a version of autism, which is high functioning, that is called Asperger's. Asperger's syndrome, you're very intelligent children, but they're very sensitive to certain things. Sometimes they're sensitive to touch, sometimes they're sensitive to sound. They have a difficult time adapting to social environments. I can definitely identify. I'm not as bad off as my son, but I definitely hate social environments. I can't stand it. Anytime in a large crowd, it just makes me uncomfortable. I don't even like going into his school, but I do because I'm used to it. I'm a grown-up. I've had to make changes throughout my life. You have to do things you're not comfortable with because it's part of life. You just have to do it. So I was sitting with my son in the office this morning, waiting for the principal because the principal was going to take us over to his class. And I was hoping, I said, please come in here soon. Please come in here soon. The reason why I was hoping that is because my son is very sensitive to crowds. He doesn't like walking in on a big crowd or being part of a big crowd. Anonymity is his friend, just like it was my friend a long time ago. Maybe not to the severe degree that he has it, but I know what he's going through. And I hate it. Oh, I hate it. When you're either late to school, because I used to ride the bus. When the bus was late to school, you'd walk in the door, and the entire class is already there. They're already going over something with the teacher, and they're all staring at you. And gosh, I hated it. It was just a misery for me. So I was hoping to myself and praying and say, please let this principal show up, because we have to wait for him before we can go to the class. He wants to walk us to the class and let the teacher know that my son is now in this new class, because he couldn't handle the old class because they were a bunch of hoodlums. I don't know what went on in that class, but I picture a bunch of little kids with cowboy hats shooting guns in the air and screaming. School is definitely not the same as when I went to school. Now, there were bad kids. I remember some of the bad kids. But my kids know all about profanity. They know all about, drugs. This is a country school, so they know more than I knew at that time. Or at least going on my memory. I think that's true. Sometimes I wonder if we just say things like that, but if we went back in time, we'd hear the exact same thing that we hear now. But I don't know. So we're waiting on the principal. We're talking to the secretary that's been there for the last 30, 40 years. Nice country school. Principal finally walks in after the bell has already rung. So I'm a little bit down already because I know he's going to have a tough time with it. And heck, I don't even like walking into class as an adult with all the kids sitting there, looking at the screen, going over stuff already with the teacher, which is a substitute. Now, the teacher that normally teaches the class, she's a great lady. My son knows her. It was going to be a good day. But she had a death in the family, so she was gone to New York. So my son was even more nervous. And I was nervous because substitutes can go one of two ways. You can have a great substitute, loves her job, or you can have a substitute that just asks people to play a movie and doesn't care. And we all know that we've had both in our lifetimes. The substitute that walks in and looks like they don't want to be there either. But this was a good substitute, thank goodness. Just not the original teacher. Just makes it a little bit more difficult. So he came in, he sat down. I stood next to him. I said, have a good day. I gave him a hug. He sat down in his chair. Me and the principal walked out, and it looked like we made a seamless transition. But I don't know yet. I'll have to check around 3:30 when his bus gets home. I'm a little apprehensive. I was nervous for him. But it got me thinking, this is something that we can apply to our trade, our lives in general. You have to face these fears. And his fear might feel insurmountable because of his condition. It's amplified. Now, I have some fears. I have a fear of airplanes. I've never gotten on an airplane before. I could lie to you and say that I had, but what's the point of that? I look up in the sky and I see airplanes, and they look very heavy, made of metal, and I've read about the aerodynamics and how it works, but I'm not totally convinced that once I get in an airplane, it's not going to plunge into a fiery ball of death. I'm just not quite convinced yet. Now, I'm supposed to get in an airplane here in the next couple months for the first time in my life, and keep it in mind, I'm almost 40. So I'm just a country bumpkin, living in the woods, never been on an airplane, scared to death. We have to face those fears. In our jobs, at home, it applies everywhere. They seem insurmountable. I've seen some things that seem insurmountable. I mean, financial burden, it seems really tough. For a long time, I didn't think you could be successful. I just had it in my head it was impossible, even though I see people out there that are successful. I see people that make all their dreams come true. They have nice, shiny cars, big boats, living the life, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're happy. They achieve these things, and they look happy. I see the people with nice, shiny cars and big boats. They are often smiling. I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, I don't think that's the only thing in the world that you have to look forward to, but I definitely think that makes life a little easier if you don't have that burden. And I started thinking to myself, well, if Landon can walk into that classroom and sit down with all those kids, feeling like he's on the spot, being so nervous, so out of his element, then I can make changes too. I've tried to face these things before. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I don't. But I'll take a lesson from Landon, because he seems to know what he's doing. He was tough enough to walk with me into that school this morning, even though everything in his being was telling him to turn around. He still made his way in there, and I'm sure I gave him some support, and he felt stronger with me at his side. You know what? I felt better with him at my side. So that's just a quick little story, guys. Landon goes to school, might set a precedent for all of us. That thing you think is unattainable or difficult to do, it's really not so difficult. It just takes doing. If you got a little bit of perspective on it and stepped away from your own life, took a look at it from a different angle, you probably see it's just something you have to do. It's just another step to take. So good luck with that, guys, as I try mine. Maybe you'll see me 30,000 feet up in the air, or maybe you'll see me making an excuse. I'm not altogether sure what's going to happen yet. But I'll tell you one thing. My name is Zach Ciota, and I am the tradesman.
Jackson Systems is your controls expert in the HVAC industry. With our top-notch technical support and customer service, we make life easier for you, the HVAC contractor. We offer free trainings on any product sold here at Jackson Systems, along with our filter fetch program, free thermostat imprinting, home and business automation with connected sensors, cameras, and even smart stats from Nest, Ecobee, Honeywell, White Rogers, Google, and more. Visit us at jacksonsystems.com to see the products that continue to win industry acclaim among contractors worldwide. Jackson Systems, controls done right.